Hello, YouTube. Welcome to the Trusty 8 podcast. This is episode number 6, and we are live with Grumpy Old Dude. How you doing tonight, man? This is our first.
Tired.
Yeah, it's a little later for you. So yeah, as we were just talking about, you were a regular on the Six Pack program with the Atheist Pastor,
Yeah.
where I first kind of got to know you. And you run a YouTube channel as well. So why don't you go ahead and tell people about your background as we go into this here? How
Well,
did you do this?
the first thing we got to talk about, I already looked in the description of your podcast here. I'm not a Buddhist.
You're not a Buddhist?
No.
Oh, okay. I heard you say that on stream. So
No, that's the other guy. That's Jay. My buddy Jay is a Buddhist.
Oh shoot, I messed up. Okay, sorry about that.
You
Okay.
you got the God confused with the Jesus.
Oh, makes some sense now. Okay.
But that's all right.
I do
Fix it
apologize
later.
for that.
You can fix it later. It's no big deal. I've been called worse.
Okay, so well then let's how do you identify now? Let's start with that.
I'm an atheist,
Okay.
and give everybody a little bit of background. Quick, the quick version here. I was raised Catholic. My father was half Irish, half Italian. Everybody in my family was Catholic, pretty much, and in my teen years, I decided that I did not want to follow Catholicism, and I bounced around, different denominations here and there, and decided that I was going to be a preacher. And I went to Amherst Theological Seminary up in Massachusetts. And after actually learning the Bible and studying scripture and theology, I found there was no evidence of a God or God, no evidence for the resurrection, and no evidence for many other things that are in theological studies, and became an atheist.
Okay.
Unfortunately, when I was 19 years old, I got into an altercation with a gentleman in New Jersey, and I took this man's life in an act of self-defense. My jury did not agree with that at the time, and I was sentenced to 30 years for involuntary homicide. I spent 12 and a half years in prison before I finally got released on appeals that I took all the way to the federal level and got my case overturned and actually changed some laws in New Jersey. But while I was in prison, I became a white supremacist. I became a neo-Nazi skinhead and actually founded my own prison gang. I was one of the founders. I'm an original, or what we call a first tree member of state prison skinheads. And I also started to follow a religion called creativity, which is a white racialist religion. It's an anomaly because creativity is an atheistic religion. They do not believe in any God or gods. They don't believe in heaven or hell. They believe that their race, the white race, is their religion. It is one of the most harmful, disgusting, and dangerous religions in the world right now. I know a lot of people want to focus on Islam and things that, fundamentalist jihadis do. I'm telling you now, people need to start focusing on, some of these more dangerous, not so outspoken religions, because they're building up to a time where they are going to do something extremely horrendous.
I definitely agree with you there. I mean, even on the lower end of the spectrum, I mean, with racial bigotry. There's so much violence that goes on, but there are groups that really believe in not just things like segregation, but things like basically like another Holocaust,
Oh
genocide.
yeah, yeah. They definitely believe in racial cleansing.
Yeah, that's what they call it.
Yeah.
So wow, okay, we packed a lot in there. So, damn. All right. So what you did 12 years in prison, and that
Yeah.
did that change change other things about? So, like you said, this is kind of a religion that's based on race. Was there some form of like when they say you have to have God when you're in a foxhole? Is it something like that when you're in prison?
For some people it is not not necessarily all the time though. Um, I didn't have to group up with anybody. Um, I have 3 different black belts. I was at the time that I went to prison, I was a semi-pro fighter, and I had just won a fight in Atlantic City that was about to get me a contract to turn pro. Um, which is one of the reasons why they charged me with the homicide, because of my martial arts background and the training I had. Their thought process was I should have been able to disarm this man without harming him. Um, Sorry, but if you pull a knife on me, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure you don't stick that knife in me. And it happened. Could I have disarmed him without actually hurting him? Probably, yeah. But spur of the moment thing, I did what I thought I needed to do, and unfortunately, I took this man's life. And a lot of people view me as this, pretty tough guy because they've either seen me fight, they've heard about my reputation and everything. But that is something that haunts me to this day. Taking a life it's no small thing. I'm 48 years old. This is 30 years ago that this happened, and it still gets to me sometimes. So I don't tell that story to brag about it. That's just part of my story to where I got to now. But being in prison, I didn't have to join up with any groups. Forming state prison skinheads with a couple of friends of mine and some others, I think was more out of, I know these guys are tougher than most. We're all going to get together and we're going to run shit because I don't care anymore. You're going to send me to prison for defending myself. I'm going to do what I want, and I dare you to try and stop me. And it just went down this dark, lonely rabbit hole for a long time.
So, and you were an atheist before you went to prison, right? You said
Yeah.
you'd already converted.
Yeah.
Okay, and so what was what made you buy into the ideology behind white supremacy? What convinced you to that?
A lot of it was I had seen, people being racist and stuff growing up, but it was your typical good old boy, backwoods redneck racism type stuff. But where I grew up was like a very mixed neighborhood. And a lot of times when I'd hear somebody say the N word, or derogatory Spanish words or anything like that, I was just like, yeah, whatever, get out of here. I don't want to be around them, but I'll tolerate them for certain things, whatever. When I got to prison, I seen a whole new side of racism. I met people who were in the Nation of Islam and Black Hebrew Israelites. And that was the first time anybody had ever called me a white devil or a blue-eyed devil and told me that I was spawn of Satan because I'm white. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And then I started learning about it. And I'm like, really? Like, that's what they believe, but Black people aren't racist. How is that not racist? And people started telling me about, skinhead, neo-Nazi skinheads and everything. And a couple of my friends had already gotten into the skinhead movement. And, I just kind of fell in with it. I knew some older gentlemen out your way in California who were part of Aryan Brotherhood. And I got in touch with them and told them, hey, I want to start my own thing out here on the East Coast. And they were like, as long as you don't use our name or any derivative thereof, cool. We'll back you up. So me and some friends started State Prison Skinheads. A couple of years, well, more than a couple, about 4 years into my prison sentence, I started being approached by a couple of guys that were in this creativity religion. And the reason they came to me was because I had declared I was an atheist and I did not believe in God. I didn't believe in Odin or, anything like that. And they were like, hey, we're atheists too, except our religion is centered around our race. And I was like, really? Like, what's that mean? How can you have a religion with no gods? And they drew me in, they suckered me in. And I did that for about 8 years, and then of course, with pretty much any religion, I started seeing the flaws in their concepts and their beliefs. Most of them don't even follow, what their religion is founded upon. And I was like, this is a joke. Like, you're a bunch of kids trying to, act tough or whatever. Like, I'm done. I'm out, And then I started, it wasn't just that. It was, I started reading more about different scientific things, biology, genetics, and looking more into history. And I realized that most of the beliefs that, these white supremacists have are completely false. It's a bunch of propaganda. And I was like, yous lied to me. And they're like, oh, how do we lie? And I'm like, you're talking about there's proof that each ethnicity is actually a different species. And that is utterly false. Oh, no, you're just believing Jewish propaganda. And I'm like, look, I don't want to hear that crap. Like, it's proven, because not every one of these scientists is even Jewish. One of them's a freaking racist and says that there's no evidence for this. And they're like, oh, whatever, you can't believe that. You got to stick with your religion. And I'm like, yous don't even stick with your religion. Like, I'm done being lied to. I'm out. I'm done.
So you you helped found the gang, and then you had to leave it behind. That's got to be pretty tough there.
The whole gang thing. I didn't actually leave that until after I left creativity.
Right.
I still had, I don't know, just a lot of hatred and anger, and I don't know, just a bunch of different things going on. And it took me a while to give up that mentality completely. 2012 is when I completely gave up any kind of affiliations with white supremacy or anything like that. So from 1992 until 2012, I consider myself a white supremacist. And when I walked away from the gang, I even told them, like, look, I'm retiring my patch. You guys can do what you want, but a lot of the things that we founded this on are utterly untrue. And anybody that wants to come with me and get out of this movement, let me know. And that didn't go over very well. I got quite a few death threats. I had people shoot at my house. Just telling me if I ever get out of here and I catch you, I'm going to kill you. And it's like, listen, don't think that I've changed all that much. I let go of my ideas. I still got a mean freaking left. And if I need something more than that, you know damn well I'll pick it up. So if you want to get there, let's go. And I'm still here, so
Yeah, that's what I consider myself non-violent, but if I feel threatened by you, I won't hesitate to go for the throat myself. It's like my mentality.
see that's the thing with me. I'm an atheist. I never claimed that I'm a humanist. Listen, if I got to put you down, I'll put you down. It's no skin off my back.
Yeah, what I prefer is the term naturalist. I just think it. I believe what we know from science, what we observe, right? Like, and so you mentioned that earlier a little bit. So there are certain racists who like to take different statistics or notes of out of context. They want to create this narrative. Do you know about American Renaissance at all?
Yeah, a
Okay,
little
yeah,
bit. Yeah,
I've been focusing on them quite a bit. They claim that they don't want any problems. They just want their own white ethno state. That's
yeah,
and it's all centered around this. And I think a lot of it is hijacked scientific research and stats about IQ and stuff like that, where they want to say, oh well, we just think that we're too different and we can't possibly continue to integrate. And uh, do you did you believe that type of thing? Is that similar to what you guys were?
yeah. For a while, I did. Yeah, and I also believed a lot of the old scientific research from 1800s, early 1900s. The whole freaking our brains weigh different amounts and our skulls are different sizes and this, that, and the other thing. And then come to find out that, well, yeah, that was all different because the people they used, some of those people had, different genetic anomalies and, things like that. And I'm like, so you can't go off of that. Yeah. But they still want to believe it. They're like, oh, no, no, no. It proves that Africans are a different species. And like I said, now I know now from reading, different things in biology and genetics and everything that there are no different species of humans. We all just evolved differently, but we're all humans. Yeah,
Yeah. They talk about the genetic differences. Well, it's just a different variation on the same. Yeah, whatever. I'm not qualified to talk about that too much,
yeah,
but yeah, I could see that right off the bat when
yeah,
you hear these guys.
yeah.
Okay,
And I mean, they present it very well. They have a lot of documentation that looks legit. And
yeah,
if you're somebody like I was, you're young, you don't know all about this science stuff or anything. And I'm not an academic. I'm a street kid who got lucky. You know, that's all it is. And these guys present you with this stuff, and they sound so freaking smart, and they hook you. That's how they draw them in. And they normally go after younger people who don't have a good educational background, and they draw them in.
yeah. And it's easy to intermingle the two. I mean, so all right, we'll go back to this briefly because I don't know if we really got into this, but when you came out, I don't know, when you became an atheist, did you come out with your friends and family? Was that a difficult thing earlier on?
Uh, a lot of my friends and family didn't know I was an atheist until after I went to prison.
Okay.
Um, Once I was in prison, it was like it doesn't matter now. Like,
Yeah.
screw it. It is what it is. And I started, because people would send me these letters and everything talking about we're praying for you and blah blah blah. And I'd call them up and I'd be like, listen, I appreciate it. I really do, but praying's not going to help me at this point, and they're like, oh, don't say that, that's blasphemous. And I'm like, listen, I don't even want to hear it. I'm an atheist. I don't even believe in God anymore. What? How can you say that? And I'm like, hey, if God's real, God put me here. So figure it out.
Yeah. And you knew all this was going to happen, and you didn't warn me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. So, I made a video on that a while ago, and just to elaborate, like, there's so even without the God belief, there are certain circumstances that can make you more open to believing the claims that people make. Like, I remember being younger after I knew I was an atheist. I wasn't vocal about it, but I knew I was. And and then I started buying into more and more conspiracy theories. And at one point I thought like every conspiracy was true, right? Like, yeah, aliens and Jews have collaborated to take over the planet and all that good shit, But I never subscribed to the racism end of it. I couldn't get into that as much because of my background and my experience, and I have a mixed family, so um, yeah, I don't know, but there was something in my head that snapped a couple of years ago, or I haven't been a skeptic, I've been a cynic, and on the tail end of that, you can still come up with really terrible ideas, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think maybe that's where I was when I started getting into creativity. I don't know if I really was a skeptic like you said. I think maybe I was just more cynical than skeptical at the time. And although, like I said, these people don't believe in God or gods or heaven or hell or anything, it was still a religion. And I should have studied it. I should have looked at it more skeptically before I started getting involved in it.
Yeah, and then you make choices based on those beliefs, and you can't, then you just stuck with that.
Yeah.
I know what that's like. So, so more recently, I guess what you said, you came out 2012. So when did you start deciding you need to be like a vocal about this? Do you want to start?
Oh, 2018.
Yeah.
Um, my wife and I were watching different stuff on YouTube, and just a bunch of different channels. Simon Dan, Conspiracy Cats, watching Aaron Ra, Matt Dillahunty over on ACA, and their call-in show and stuff. And no matter what we were watching, I was coming up with arguments before they would say them on the video. And my wife would just look at me like, how the hell did you know that? And I'm like, I'm a plethora of useless information. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. And the one day, I still think she was half joking. She says she wasn't, but she was like, you need to start your own YouTube channel. And I was like, yeah, whatever. She's like, no, I'm serious. She's like, you should really start a channel. And I was like, yeah, all right. So I started Grumpy Old Dude. And I I had it going for a few months. we had an issue because I don't know a whole lot about technology, and I left everything wide open. Somebody hacked into my account and was using my account for nefarious purposes, and we
Wow.
had to shut everything down and start it all over again. Well, when we started it over this time here, um, I was like, you know what? I need to start reaching out to other people and trying to get my story out there, try and build my brand, and the first actual interview I did was with Chris Mallard on the Daily Atheist Morning Show.
Nice.
And that was it. We were off to the races. People were like, wait a minute, you're a former white supremacist who now speaks out against hate groups and racism. I want to talk to you. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's something that I've known several white supremacists throughout my life, and I've tried to help to change them unsuccessfully, unsuccessfully. But it's something that I'm interested in. I want to learn how, and I want to talk to people who have come out of that. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's not easy. For the most part, I've recently, very recently, just a couple of months ago, I helped a young woman get out of my former religion, creativity. But she came to me looking for help. I didn't have to talk her into it. She wanted out, and I called in a couple of favors, and I got her as much help as I could, and I got her out. Um, and I put myself out there. I mean, this is a group that they will kill you. If they find you, they'll kill you. Um, I've had, I don't know how many death threats come to the house. Like I said, they shot at my house once before. This is a real thing. As far as getting people out, like talking to them and getting them out, the best thing I can tell you is keep having dialogue and ask them, why do you believe that? What makes you believe that? And if you can debunk it, do your best to debunk it. They may not want to hear it. They may not want to listen to that, but it's the same thing, like having a debate with, a Christian. You might present them with all the evidence in the world for, how Christianity is wrong. They may not believe it, you know.
and as far as this group goes, it's called Creativity. How many people do you think are affiliated with them? Would you
Uh,
estimate?
that's a tough question because they have groups all over the world. This is not just an American thing. As far as I know right now, the head of this religion is currently a gentleman in the UK. It's now there's been a split. There are two different groups. There's one group calling themselves the Creativity Alliance that's here in the States, headquartered here in the States. There's another group called the Creativity Movement, and they're headquartered in the UK. So there's two different leaders clashing back and forth, but they do all still work together. They all still have their own little different groups all over the place. The United Kingdom, France, Germany, Russia, Australia, they're all over the world, literally. Putting a number on it, I don't know. I've kind of been out of the loop for quite some time now, but I would have to say just here in the United States, I would say there's at least 100,000. if not more. And that's just here in the US. That doesn't include all the other countries and even some South Americans, Argentina, Brazil, Peru. They have people all over the world, literally.
Yeah, those are pretty frightening numbers.
Yeah, this is not, and I've argued with people about this before. They try and tell me, oh, whatever, bunch of little fringe groups. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. These people have a lot of numbers. This is not some little fringe group, and the thing with creativity, I think, and one other thing that makes them so dangerous is they're very good at disavowing people and distancing themselves when someone gets caught. There was a gentleman, I believe it was in South Carolina. The FBI had linked him to creativity, and he was manufacturing ricin. And of course, when that went wrong and he got caught, the church was like, "Oh no, he's not a member of our church. We know who he is, and he says he practices our religion, but we don't approve of that, and he's not one of our members." And there's really no proof. You can't prove that this guy was an actual member of this church.
Yeah, nobody's going to talk. And
Yeah.
you got nothing. Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean they've had people that were making bombs, and like I said, this guy was manufacturing ricin. Like, they're serious. This is not some fringe group. These people are serious. They are terrorists. I called them out. I went back and forth for a while with a couple of guys on Twitter trying to get them to debate me on a live stream. And I kind of screwed up because I let them know that I did know what their religion was about, and I kind of let them know a couple of things that I could easily debunk. So, of course, they're not going to debate me now because now they know I can disprove them, and if they do it on a live stream, well, I'm going to crush their religion, and who knows how many followers they're going to lose. So I'm just going to keep making videos about them and hope that somebody sees it and gets in touch with me like, hey, need to talk to you about getting out of here.
Yeah, it's like the best you can do. It's like it's the same, like you said, with Christians or any religious people. That
Yeah.
If you watch the Atheist Experience long enough, I don't know, maybe something will click.
Yeah.
Personally, I myself have had to stop watching as much as I used to of that type of program, just because it's not healthy for me. but I understand where it's coming from.
Yeah.
I'm not that type of debater, but I have been like studying, my logical fallacies and studying the Bible, just so that when I get into these conversations with people, I'm a little more well informed.
Yeah. And listen, I mean, sometimes, we can all be guilty of getting stuck in an echo chamber. Sometimes it's good to go watch the other side and listen to what they have to say.
Right. Absolutely. So on that note, so you're not doing debates? Have you done those in the past?
No, not any on live streams or anything like that. I've debated a couple of people over the years, just in my own personal life and stuff like that.
Right.
I will be debating sometime next month. I'm still not sure when. I didn't get a date yet, but I will be debating somebody on the death penalty.
Nice.
Yeah, because I'm definitely against the death penalty.
Right.
Spending time in prison. I think if you really want somebody to suffer, Just put them in prison for the rest of their natural life. Don't ever let them out, because once you kill them, their suffering's over. But you let them spend 30, 40, 50, 60 years in prison, they're going to suffer a long freaking time.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. There's some debate to how much some people might flourish in prison, just depending on, what their pathology is, or psychology, right? So,
Yeah, well, that's the people that you put on the special units where they don't get to go around other people.
right, right. Yeah, I've been thinking about I started a Discord server a little while ago, and I was trying to get some people maybe in there to do some debates on there. Maybe even like, just mock debates where we could, just do a practice run or whatever.
Yeah.
So that could be cool. If you want, I could send you an invite to that. I don't know if you do those.
Yeah, I don't know. I tried doing Discord, and it got under my nerves. There's too many different things to keep track of.
Oh, yeah, you can only follow so much. Just like YouTube, that's why I've gotten lost. I have no idea how many channels I'm following. Now I've got this channel, so I'm running the two, and trying to keep up on subscriptions and everything. It's crazy.
Yeah, I need to start putting some work in this year on my channel. I don't know, the past few weeks I got in a real bad depressive state. Haven't really been doing a whole lot of videos or work on my channel or anything, but yeah, I don't know. I think this year we're gonna get back to what this channel was supposed to be, and I'm gonna start focusing on these hate groups and taking them on, and I get heat from both sides. I get a lot of heat, of course, from the far right because I'm speaking out against them, and being a former, they want to call me a race traitor and a sellout, and I'm just a two-faced scumbag and whatever. And it's like, yeah, I kind of expected that. But it's the kickbacks that I get from people who claim to be liberals or be on the left. And, they want to tell me, that some of the things I say are still racist because how dare I speak out against anything that someone from BLM does? Well, if they're doing something harmful, I'm going to say it. I'm going to speak out against it. And if you don't like it, you're the problem. And they don't want to hear that. And how dare I speak out against Antifa for committing acts of violence because, well, they're anti-fascist. So they're the good guys. Well, I'm sorry, but when somebody from Antifa tells a 16-year-old black girl that she can't have a conversation with a black police officer simply because he's wearing a badge, that's an issue. Your white ass ain't got shit to say about a black girl having a conversation with an older black man about her race. Shut up. I don't care if you're Antifa. I don't care who you are. If you're white, you don't get to tell two black people they can't have a conversation. Shut up.
Yeah, there is definitely some insanity on the left. I mean, there's going to be fringes in any large movement like that, right? Where you have these
Yeah.
pretty isolated incidents. You have these other things where they had white people bowing down to kiss a black man's feet or something like that. But
Yeah.
these are pretty rare incidents. But we do have to address them. I mean, we can't just let it go.
If you let that go, how far is it going to go? How many more are going to try and do shit like that? If you don't want to turn into the far right, stop it before it starts.
Right. And as far as, me personally, I would say, it's okay to punch a Nazi in the face, but only if he's trying to put you on a freight car,
Listen, be careful which ones you punch in the face, though, because not all of them are going to go down that easy.
Right, right. Oh shit.
You know, I had some guys in prison who were trying to put sharp objects inside of me because I was a Nazi, and that didn't end very well for them. You know?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I don't generally promote violence, but yeah, sometimes you have to deal with things like that. I've done a week in jail, but I've never done like time like that. But I have in my past. I've hung out with people who have been in prison, so I know how that can go sometimes. Even on the outside, I mean, some of these guys who are fresh out are ready to go off and go back. They don't care.
Yeah, it took me a while to readjust to society when I got out. You know, the prisons that I was in New Jersey, I started off in Trenton State Prison. And then I went to Rahway, or as it's known now, East Jersey State Prison. And these are old penitentiaries that are surrounded by 30-foot walls. You know, so it's where the big boys play. You know, and I did 12 years, 7 months, and 19 days. And out of that 12 and a half years, I spent at least 6 of it, you know, in lockup. I did not play well with others, you know. So when I got out, it took me a while to be able to go to the store and, you know, not look behind me and freak out on people like, why are you so close to me? Are you looking at me? Why are you looking at me? You know, people are like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, and you can see, I mean, why it would change a person. I mean, they do put you in a situation where you are constantly, it's a war type situation. You're constantly in defense of your life, right?
Yeah. And well, partly what made it worse for me was when I overturned my conviction. I did have other charges. I had a robbery charge because when I killed this kid, I ran. You know, I knew I was going to be in trouble. I ran. I tried to steal somebody's car in an attempt to get away from the cops.
Oh wow.
Unfortunately, the car that I tried to steal was a police officer's car. So when he got out and I got in, he stuck a gun in my head and told me, if you move, I'm going to kill you. And that's when they caught me. So I had a robbery charge on top of the homicide charge. Now, I fought the homicide charge. I did not ever once try and appeal the robbery charge because I did it and I knew I did it and I knew I was wrong. So when they overturned my homicide conviction, I only had a few more months to max out on the robbery charge. And I was like, well, I don't even want parole. I'll just max out. Well, I didn't think about it at the time. When you max out your sentence, which means you have no more time to do, you have no parole when you get out, you have no fines left, nothing. You're just done. They just opened the door, gave me the $28.98 that I had in my account and said, here's your money. Good luck. So I didn't get any release programs. I wasn't eligible for a halfway house to try and integrate back into society or nothing. I went from being in prison to being in society. And it was a mental mind fuck.
Really?
Money had changed, clothes had changed, cars had changed. The neighborhood that I was living in when I went to prison was completely different. Yeah, there were new buildings, and like everything was just different. And it took me a while to get used to being out. And I think that's part of the reason why it took me so long to let go of the white supremacy stuff, because I was so focused on just getting back to being a normal human being. I wasn't thinking about racial issues. I was just thinking, okay, what do I need to do to fit in this world now? And it took me a while.
Yeah, and there's in society the change that we've seen happen that they're trying to push back against so much is normalizing that, right? Like we want to normalize that we're all just trying to get by day to day,
Yeah.
right? Whether you're white, black, brown, what have you. It's um that's the only thing we can the main thing we can all focus on, that human element, which we said earlier, I don't care for the term humanist, but if there's one side of that element of that makes it, it's that is we're all in the same struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing that, I push when I do try and talk to people that are, still in any extremist movement, whether they be white, black, Asian, Arabic, whatever, and I tell them, like, listen, especially, black guys coming out of prison. And I'm like, look, man, I didn't have it no easier. Don't think that just because I'm white, that my white privilege made it easier for me when I got out of prison. It didn't. Um, it's been 30 years since I got arrested for this. This was 1991 when I got arrested. I still can't get a job at Walmart or Dollar General or anything like that because of this conviction from 1991. And sometimes that helps because these younger guys will hear that and they're like, what? Are you serious, for real? And I'm like, yeah. I was a machinist for a lot of years. I worked in factories and everything. My back and my neck are all tore up and I can't do that kind of work anymore. So I tried applying at Dollar General and Walmart and, little gas stations and whatnot around here. None of them will hire me because I have that conviction, and I'm like, so don't think that I'm any better off than you are. Like, I get it. I know that struggle. I'm still living it and I'm almost 50 years old. And they're like, damn, all right, well, maybe I should listen to this old head, and I'm like, yeah, you should. Yeah.
You're getting by though. That's what counts.
Well, luckily my wife went to college and she's, got a decent career because right now I'm not making any money. So
Yeah. Yeah, I scrape by myself. Like I try to, I'm like, I'm not gonna ask people on YouTube for money and shit like that because if I'm not in a position to do it, why would, you know what I mean? Like, why would I ask my followers? But at the same time, yeah, anything you can get helps.
yeah.
So I don't know, and a closed mouth won't get fed, as they say.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm gonna reach out to some people. We're gonna see if we can't set up a GoFundMe to get you at least a laptop, if not a computer.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely appreciate it. I won't say no. I will graciously bow to the gods of atheism. No. uh, well, we're running on what, 50 minutes almost. Uh, you ran me through my questions here, most of them. Do you have anything you want to say as far as closings for?
uh, I guess my biggest thing is I think a lot of people on the left, people that consider themselves liberals, think about what that word means. I did not vote for Trump. I voted for Biden against my better judgment. I think the man's a scumbag personally, but whatever. I get the whole thing with this cultish mindset that we see come from Trump followers. And I understand how, people get so bent out of shape with them and say they're just disgusting and this, that, and the other thing. Try and take into account that these people are scared. They've been fed a line of propaganda that they fell for. It's not necessarily their fault that they fell for it. It's not necessarily their fault that they believed it. Instead of getting on them and using ad hominems and telling them they're stupid, they're, idiotic, they're just another freaking white racist scumbag or whatever, try and tell them, hey, that's not true, right? And when things change over and Joe Biden becomes president, nobody's going to come kicking down your door and take all your personal belongings. The left isn't going to rise up and slaughter all the white people. That's not going to happen. So you need to calm down and stop believing the bullshit. Have some dialogue and have some empathy. That's the hardest thing. Have empathy for these people because they got suckered in. And it's our job now to try and show them and make them believe that the left isn't as bad as they think. But if you keep calling every white person a racist, you're going to start making more racists. It's not going to end well. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, oh, not all white people are racist. Well, guess what? I'm considered white. I'm not racist. Not anymore. I actually speak out against it. So not all white people are racist. I don't care if you want to hear it or not. It's the truth. We need to not only educate these Trump supporters, we need to start re-educating our own and let them know that the boogeyman's not around every corner. Not every Trump supporter is a white supremacist, and not every white supremacist is actually a Trump supporter. Most of them probably didn't even vote. So just have some empathy and have some dialogue. Try and take care of one another.
It's beautifully said. Well, I want to thank everybody who is viewing this and views this in the future. Thank you, Grumpy Old Dude, for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
I'm going to end it off now. I will see you backstage.
All righty. Oh, one thing. Did you go off yet?
Nope, you're still on.
Okay. I have to show out my wife's little Saturday night get-together on Nadine Callan's channel. It's called Girls Night In, every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Beautiful. We got that out there. And for anybody viewing who wants to check out Grumpy Old Dude's channel, I put the link down in the description. And he's
Cool.
not a Buddhist. I'm going to change that after we get off.